Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell him to... Thank you. I'm just kindly waiting for those who are outside and those who are studying. Kindly we settle a bit. Time is not on our side. We have been here for the last 2 days, but there are still things that need to be done. And we are here because we love, we cherish our country, Kenya. And because there are some governmental issues, some of them who are elected leaders in the National Assembly were coming to talk to us and to share with us. Maybe it's good we ask ourselves, and I'll give you a minute or two to talk to your neighbor, looking at the socio-political landscape of our country, Kenya. What is the state of our nation? For the state of our nation. We are also not here for lectures, we are here for dialogue. We are here for dialogue. And as we dialogue, I also would like us to ask ourselves this question. In these 2 days, or you can ask your neighbor, what has struck you most? Yesterday we listened to the people who are from the budget, we listened to people from the government, we listened to a number of people. We even listened to the religious leaders. I remember Bishop Olari being here. This morning we had religious leaders. What has struck me as an individual? So, other than talking here, things, I want us to have a discussion with your neighbor. And I'll give you 2 minutes. And I'll do a survey. Or I'll do a free sample. What has struck you in these 2 days up to today? And then the second question, if somebody happened to ask you this question when you leave this door, what will you say about the state of our country, Kenya? I happen to be joined by a good friend of mine. We studied with him at the University of Nairobi. And in one of those classes, we had a discussion about her, called Professor Maria Zomo. She used to teach us the theory about international relations. And every time she would speak, at one given time she would fail to talk anything about the governance and the political landscape of this country. So I want to hear from you, and I'll do a free sample, about 3-4 people, as we wait for our panelists. What has struck you as an individual, and what is the state of our country, Kenya? Not in terms of economy, in terms of socio-political landscape of our country, Kenya. Am I clear enough? Am I clear? And that's how we know we are dialoguing. Dialoguing is not only coming here to dialogue things about the merry-go-round, to dialogue the things about the short train, whether they have reached or not. There are other serious things. What kind of a country would you like your great-grandchildren to live? If Baba didn't enjoy, if Baba didn't fight for the multi-party democracy, would we enjoy the fruits that we are enjoying today? Would we?
No.
So what kind of a country would you like to leave to your children? Are you done? I said 2 minutes. Dialogue. That's what dialogue is all about. And I can pinpoint you like 10 people as an observer. Survey this lady and that gentleman. The rest were working the own business. Let me do a simple survey of three people. I don't know whether we have a rotational survey as we wait for our guests. I don't know whether we have a mic that can rotate. Hi. Let me do a simple survey. Let me hear the people who want to say something for 2 minutes. Yes, Gen Z. I will get for because we don't have a rotational mic. For 5 seconds. Let's listen for that young man kindly. Good afternoon.
Yes. I want to ask unanimously, what's ailing in our country? What's ailing our country? What's the main problem ailing our country?
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. They are saying it's corruption.
Yes.
But for me, as a Gen Z, from where I stand, what is ailing our country is patriotism.
Okay.
Patriotism is the love and the service for one's country. If you cannot serve and love your country, then you will hate your country, so you will be corrupt. So kitu yenye hatuna ni uzalendo. Uzalendo ni hatuna. Corruption yote iko under unpatriotism. The level of unpatriotism in us citizens. Last few months I saw some chieftains standing on a flag. I don't know if they understand the importance of a flag. That shows the level and the unpatriotism within the citizens.
Asante. So your question is on patriotism. And because I've seen all our panelists have all entered in the room, and the time is not on our side, can I get one survey on this side? One person, yeah, there, whether we have that Lady Maximilian.
What actually touched me these past 2 days is the fact that we are thinking about children and how best to cater for them. Growing up many years ago, the government didn't have to think about us, but I'm not saying that we didn't have the best at the time. But this coming at a time when the children's lives are in danger, it's something great. But I also walked away with a scandal, and the scandal was young people abusing those of us who are gray-haired, and the best that the rest of us could do was just laugh it off. You laugh it off, and that is how, chaotic the country turns into in a very short while. Thank you.
Asante sana. Sitaki kufungilia ule kijana, the last one.
When you prompted us to think, and me and my guy here,
Makofi kwa his guy. Kama unaelewa jokes yako.
my guy here, we were discussing about how about yesterday it stood out, that most of us Kenyans have become complacent to the problem of corruption to a point where our efforts to fight it feel insignificant to us because we feel like it's too big. And someone actually said we have reached a point whereby we are tired of bothering the government and we are providing for ourselves things that the government should provide. We say, we'll just build our own clinic here and we can provide for ourselves. But that's a service that the government should be providing. Also, what personally struck me yesterday was that someone speaking at the podium still touched on FGM. And I was asking myself, however small the problem appears, compared to other things that we are facing as a country, in the year 2025, we are still talking about FGM. Something that should have ended in 1973 is still here with us. So that's what stood out for me yesterday.
Let's clap for all those people who are participating. No. Wacha tuamshie moja. Asante. This afternoon, we are going to have thematic areas based on our theme. And our theme is clearly indicated. Children and integrity, the heart of national accountability. This afternoon, we'll have a mix or a mixture of different speakers who will tackle different things or different areas based on that theme. And I would like to invite them to the stage so that we may start our dialogue and discussion. The first one to join the stage is Madam Mercy Chege. Makofi kwake. Madam Chege, although she will get a chance to tell us, she comes from an organization which we mentioned yesterday called DKA. Look at your neighbor and tell him or her, DKA. At the moment I will tell you the meaning, but by the end of this, you'll be in a position to know the meaning of the DKA. The second discussant of our today's afternoon is a media practitioner, a guy we know very well, a gentleman who set the pace for a number of our activities in the Republic of Kenya. And it is my humble and singular duty to invite to the panel Mr. David Omoyo, MCK. Makofi kwake. Let's appreciate that gentleman. MCK, we will know as the time goes by how it will work. What is the meaning of MCK? The third person who comes from the government side, and I would like him, no, I would like her join the panel is Mubi Daudi, if she is in the room by any chance. Makofi kwake as he comes. Forgive me, Mubi Daudi comes from an organization called, it starts with O, and I can't pronounce that word. So forgive me for today. If I pronounce it, you will start laughing at me because it has so many S, Z, and Z, and C. And we are also joined, and we are happy to be joined by another gentleman called Mr. Dr. George Rafiki. Wherever he is, may he join the panel. Ladies and gentlemen. And lastly, it's my humble and secular duty to invite a friend, say a friend, mtetezi wa wanyonge, Honorable Senator Okia. Until he gets the stage. And now it's also my humble and singular duty to invite my friend, a brother. We are the same age, by the way. Even if we joke, we have no problem. Because he's the one who is leading this panel. He's the one who has the questions. Mr. Kevin Osino. Makofi kwake akikuja. Najua Jumatatu alipewa Hamjambo tena. Makofi mazuri kwa our panelists. And I want to request that we get some microphones for our speakers here. So what I'm going to do is that we are going to have a conversation, just a discussion to talk about why we are here and also to use examples and to simplify this conversation. So I will ask them to come here in 2 minutes, each of them, at intervals. They will introduce themselves effectively and say anything that probably my brother Simon did not say. And then they'll go back to sit and we open up this conversation. So I will start with Bwana John from the tail end. Nakuja hapa, unajitambulisha vizuri, anything that you want us to know. For example, I went somewhere and I introduced myself, then some lady at the corner raised the hand as I was walking out and she said, "Are you married?"
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon again. Good afternoon. My name is George Galele. I think you've noticed that I wasn't introduced by any other identification. I come from University of Nairobi, but currently we are on strike. So we are not supposed to be engaging in any academic discourse. We are not supposed to be teaching. So I had to, to honor this, conference. My work is broadly in the area of media, development, communication, but I'm also a student of political science, so I do a lot of work in political communication. I also come from Kajiado, so when Bishop was talking about Kajiado, I was really ticked. I'm happy to be here. I think I will be talking about populism, and this is based on work that we did with Dr. Mukua, Dr. Domaro, and our friend, another colleague, Professor Nyabuka. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much. Asante. Next is Daudi. Makofi kwa Daudi anapokuja.
Good afternoon. My name is Mohamed Daudi. I realized when I start with Daudi, there's a mix-up somewhere. As you can see, mimi ni mwanamke. I come from Commission on Administrative Justice, popularly known as Office of the Ombudsman, ama tume ya haki ya utekelezaji wa haki za kitawala. Zungukia mwenzako umwambie hata mnyonge ana haki. That is our slogan. So, starting today, if you walk to any government office seeking services, huduma, utembee kwa ujasiri ukijua wewe mnyonge una haki ya kuhudumiwa katika ofisi yoyote ya serikali na ofisa yoyote wa serikali. I'm privileged to be here and to be part of this meaningful conversation, a discussion that has been ongoing and needs to be ongoing each day deep in our hearts. I'm looking forward to interact with all of you and to learn from you as we discuss matters affecting children's rights and even others Kenyans. Don't be limited as a parent to air out what you are going through in those public offices and the experiences with your public officers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Mundi. And then we have Omoyo. Karibu, makofi kwake.
You know, it's very confusing because my name is David and they call me David in Swahili. So when I call David, then she woke up because, you know, what is happening? I am David Omoyo, CEO of the Media Council of Kenya. Our work is to protect press freedom and ensure responsible journalism. And make sure that we ensure that the media does its job and does it well. We make sure that you do not attack journalists in the line of duty. But we also make sure to protect the public when the media misreports and causes harm to the receiver of the news. So we do the dual role, make sure they work in a free area, in a free environment, just ensure that they are fair to the consumers of the news. I'm in familiar space. I spent at least 14 years working in the Catholic Church, 6 at the Catholic Secretariat in Nairobi, 7 in the Diocese of Nakuru. And so when you talk about media communications, CJPC, I am in very, very safe spaces, and I'm also a retired altar boy, almost.
Now you see, those are the things we wanted to come out, isn't it? Sasa kama wewe ni Mkristo wake, you have an altar boy around here. But where is he? Almost outgoing, almost incoming. Atatuelezea baadaye. Then next is Dr. Mercy to also come and tell us something that she wants us to know about. Makofi mazuri kwake.
So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. God is good. And all the time. I'm happy to be here this afternoon. My name is Mercy Chege, like you have been told, and I represent one of the partners of LCMC. We don't call ourselves donors, we call ourselves partners, because the work that LCMC is doing, DKA cannot do. So we just give them money to do what they know best, and it is, I'm really happy to be here this afternoon. I'm a safeguarding consultant, so I'm not full-time with DKA, although I am their country representative. They don't have presence in Kenya. So I work for them from the comfort of my bedroom. I am a safeguarding consultant. Children are what keeps me awake. And every time, if I talk to parents, I'm talking to them about being good parents. If I talk to teachers, I'm telling them, put down the cane. And if I'm talking to policymakers, make it right for children when it comes to the legal frameworks and the implementation of the same. I am a mother to 2 Gen Zs who are not giving me peace. And I'm happy to just engage with you and here I have toned down completely. And I think now I have graduated as a mother to Gen Zs and I have promised myself, come 2027, I will vote with the Gen Zs. So that is because they have something I don't have. They have the courage. And they are demanding the space for their voices to be heard, something that I do not have. So just maybe if we can listen to them, I'm one person who is really good at listening. I really think that's one thing I credit myself to, that I listen. And I think there is something about that generation that we need to listen to. And I hope they can speak out. But like the bishop said, it is the whole 10 commandments. Can you get into those spaces where we can see you, not behind the computers, because we don't know who you are. So get your votes, get to the ballot box, and convince us. I'm a mother to the Gen Zs, and I love you.
Mulisikia siku nyingine kama baba may so rest in peace aliambiwa I love you. Alisemaje? I love you. I must love you too. The one and only Senator Ukia Mtata. Tumpigie makofi mazuri kwa
Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Salamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yes, my name is popularly known as Okiya Mtoto Koichi. I was born on 30th November, the first day of St. Andrew, the elder brother of St. Peter. So I was given the name Andrew. And I carry it proudly, so I have got those 4 names. And so here, you are my employers, I'm your servant, I earn a salary from your taxes. That's why I feel very comfortable. And so you are my bosses. You can fire me anytime you choose. And in 2027, I'll be asking to be the president of this country. That's where we are. And we praise God. I've got devotion to the Rosary and the Blessed Virgin Mary, and also to the divine mercy. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Senator. And colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, with those introductions, we get to the core of our conversation here. And I'll start with the CEO of the Media Council of Kenya. So, David Omoe, do you think that as we talk about media and children, and especially because from the Media Council of Kenya, you really stand so tall at the apex of media engagement, reporting, ethics, and even feedback from stakeholders, and particularly the consumers of your reports and your news. Do you think that children's stories, particularly around integrity, have been effectively covered by our media in Kenya?
Thank you. I would say that the media has done a good job and a commendable job if you understand the context of reporting children's stories, in the sense that you do not ask the children to comment about matters integrity or thereof. That's what we look now at as children, not as sources, but as subjects. So when the media highlights children maybe in dilapidated classrooms, or children having to cross a very delicate bridge to school, or children walking barefoot and all that, it has triggered the conversation, because you can't ask children where the money went and all that. So I would say that to a fair extent, the media has tried to highlight the plight of children in the context of the matters we speak. Because even when you see, for example, the media highlighted that our hospitals have run short of vaccines, that is a children's story. Or schools in, is it some place in Meru, we went to some place that the children are sitting on rocks, isn't it? Or in Pokot, the schools are closed because of cattle rustling. Directly, the media has exposed that children are suffering. How we seen about where children have to cross a river or where they do some, makeshift rafters to get to class. I think if you look in that context, then the matter, the media has highlighted the matter. The why and the how and what if or who is responsible is now a matter for the adults in the room, I mean the Republic of Kenya, to take it up. Where is the money for the vaccines? Who is responsible for building classrooms? Who is supposed to provide desks and all that? That is now the matter, because the work of the media is to show, look here, by the inaction of a person, a duty bearer or two, we have no vaccines. Inaction of a duty bearer or two, we have no classrooms. Or we have seen a shootout in a school in Kariova area where the children were in class, and all that. That level has been done. Now it's then the rest, the duty is led by the media, of course, as conversation shapers, to ask ourselves, who caused the children to be in such a situation?
Great, makofi kwake moja. And Senator, because when I did the doubt, I don't say doubt, but I think it tells us that when it comes from the basics, the initial assessments of what corruption has done or can do, what it means for deprivation of services, which is therefore the cost of corruption, and children. Mr. Moyo says that that kind of work has been done and that the media has also done its work. So we are talking about children. And we ended by posing a question, so how do we therefore move it forward to be able to seek and get responses for those kind of deprivation that children can be able to get from lack of access to services because of corruption. And you have been and are one of our biggest champions of anti-corruption in this country. How often do you engage with children and corruption, in particular in terms of pushing forward the petitions, the questions, and the agenda that you are driving? Senate.
Thank you. First of all, I don't like the word corruption, because the word itself is corruption. I would rather deal with the theft of public resources, but then it becomes clearer what we are dealing with. Even coming late to work is corruption. Not doing your homework is corruption. So in this particular case, I would like to distill this thing and not mischaracterize it by calling it the theft of public resources. And if you look at it, from where I sit, like in the Senate, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of Kenya. Within that Constitution, we've got a whole article, I think it's 53, dedicated to children. And if you look at that article, and a child, first of all, a child is defined as anybody under the age of 18. So one of the things that the biggest abuses I see every day is the failure by the Kenyan state to operationalize the right of every child to free and compulsory education. That is a major violation of the rights of children, and there's a direct correlation with the theft of resources that we are witnessing. And when I come back to that, when I look at the same constitution, I see that the theft of resources has been made possible by our failure to implement the constitution so that we can have control on public money. We have allowed one person to control money, and they don't follow the budgets that are done by parliament. They go by the whims. Their own whims, that's how they run the country. And so, right now you are hearing about capitation. Schools are not getting capitation. If you go, you'll find children on the road, instead of being in a classroom, they're on the road roaming around, have been sent home for school fees, they've been done what. They are being denied the chance to develop. And in a country like Kenya, if you look at what Kenya is, we are one of the biggest economies in Africa, very successful. But what do we sell? We are not successful because of tea leaves or coffee beans. We are successful because of the human resource. Kenya is one country whereby we sell our grains. We are not like Nigerians selling oil, or like South Africans selling gold, and then we sell grains in this country. So when you sit here and you see universities are closed, like the Donia said is out of work, it's on strike. Universities are closed, capitations are not going to schools, even the school system is being undermined, and yet that is the only product that has made Kenyan economy what it is. We sell grains. And whenever Kenyans go out there, they excel, they can compete against anybody. So for me, when we come to the question of corruption and its impact on children, I see it very clearly in the deliberate decision not to implement the constitution, beginning not just with the failure to allocate adequate funds to these things, because if you really look at the budget and went through it, a piece of paper, you will find that we are allocating money to things that don't deserve to be allocated money, and we are leaving out the things that really run this country. And if we were to do that, then you will answer the question that why were we able to build the KICC in the 60s, and after that time we have not built any building that can compare with the KICC. We are building buildings that are falling on us. If you check the record of the 60s, no building ever collapsed in Nairobi was being high-rise. Where are buildings collapsing today? So that's what we really look at, and we see that our standards have gone down, and we need to go back and look at our constitution and say that we must take money away from the president and invest that money in an independent institution supervised by parliament. That is where that money will then be distributed by MPs the way it is required in the constitution. When you give it to the president, he has got his own agenda. Right now they are doing something called empowerment, and the lecturers are not teaching. That money is enough to put all these lecturers back to work. You see? So that is basically what I'm saying. So if we call this thing the theft and misuse of public resources, then we characterize it in a manner that we can address it. If we don't do that, then we mischaracterize it and we lose out. And mischaracterization is a very dangerous thing in discourse. Another thing that mischaracterized in this country, for an example, is something you call cattle rustling. It is robbery with violence. But you call it cattle rustling, people have snatched their property, they are killed, but because it's a culture, you portray it as a cultural thing, you can't deploy the might of the state to go and deal with it. If you just call it robbery with violence, you know what the penal code says about robbery with violence. So let us also get out from this thing of corruption and call this thing theft by servant. Well, the way I see it, I'm a servant, I'm not a master. If you want to be a master, you go and sell mandazi. And even when selling mandazi, you don't realize you're still a servant-master relationship, because you could be a millionaire in a different class, but the moment you open a shop, you lower your status. You have to wake up and serve that person who may be a poor man but has come to buy from your shop. So that customer enjoys a higher status, though he may be in a higher class. So if we were to understand that relationship, we'll be able to fix our country, and we'll be able to not be debating this kind of things. To wrap it up, sometime 2 months ago, I was invited for an award. And I was being given an award for being a human rights defender. I accepted, but I said I was really ashamed to be receiving that award 15 years after we had voted the Constitution. There should be no human rights defenders today. The law should be defending the rights of everybody. So that's how bad our failure is. And I would pray that in all that we do, we take the Constitution as our Bible and fight to implement it. And we'll answer a lot of these questions, and our children will be at peace. And all these things that are destroying our society will not be there. I don't have a perfect question, I've just spoken to myself.
No, Senator, as always, you have responded to my question, because I think you are throwing the baton back to us, and especially with an anchorage of the Constitution of Kenya, that really gives us the foundational principles and aspects. And I so therefore believe that you have responded. I will come back to you with some follow-up question, but I want to go to Daudi, because the Senator is of the opinion that a lot of work has been done, and that we have a constitution that also protects the place of the citizen, including children. If you look at Article, I think it's Article 26, that talks about right to life, and of course, all these issues that we are talking about, particularly around children. All those rights from Article 34 all the way to Chapter 4, socioeconomic rights, etc. But one thing that is profound is access to information. Are our children accessing this information? And what can we do to be able to address the concern around theft of public funds and information, particularly because our government has done a little bit, to pass information, but the percentage of information that is still not with the citizens is almost 98%. What must we do from the Office of the Ombudsman?
Thank you. Perhaps I start by taking you briefly through what we do as a commission. Our mandate is twofold. We have enforcement of administrative justice within the public sector. That is both the national and county government. And we look at improper administration, what we call maladministration. And to bring it closer to us as Kenyans, what do we mean by improper administration? You walk into any public office and you are entitled to receive services that are effective, efficient, and timely. But because as Kenyans, we've made public, like Honorable Senator said, you are our employers. Without you and without your taxes, we do not exist. So you have a right to receive services in any public institution or office. And when I say a right, it's a right that you should demand. It's not a favor. So when you walk to any government office, let's say you made an application for birth certificate, passport, or national ID, and it is met with delay, then we exist as an office to ensure that we hold that public officer who's causing that delay accountable. Yeah? We have what we call service charters in every public institution. When you walk into any reception, there is a service charter that stipulates the time duration within which you should receive services. Let's say it's 14 days. Within that 14 days, as a Kenyan, you should be able to receive that service. If you do not receive that service, then what is your next course of action? Report that public office, report that public officer. Without you Kenyans, without your complaints, as a commission, we will not effectively effect our mandate. So mine also is a challenge to you Kenyans. Know that you have a right to receive effective, efficient, and timely services, and if you do not, at any level of government, whether national or county, come to us as an office and we'll be able to help you. On access to information, under Article 95 of the Constitution, every Kenyan has a right to access information. And right now, as a commission, we have been tasked to enforce and implement the Access to Information Act 2016. How does it work? You walk into any public office or a private office that performs public function. You have a right to access information. You request that information. It can be in writing, or any officer in that office is tasked to ensure that your request is received, whether in whatever language, really, it doesn't matter. If you do not receive that information within 30 days, then come to Ombudsman. We will help you secure that information as long as it is not under the limitation, the limited or privileged information, what we call privileged information. So if you walk to any public office or you visit their website, there's what we call proactive disclosure of information, where offices are required to disclose the very basic, their function, the information access officer, and the likes. If you do not see that on their website, or even at the reception, you have a right to question, why is this information not available to the general public for us to know or to understand what it is that you, as a public office or as a public officer, do. So you have a right. Again, I will pose this to you again, draw it back to you. We cannot deliver 100% if you as Kenyans do not help us in effective mandate. We deal with complaints, and we are not saying that we are not able to handle all complaints from Kenyans. We rejoice in receiving complaints because it is through complaints that we will ensure that people are held accountable and the rights of each and every citizen in this country is guaranteed. So feel free to walk to our offices. We are at Western Towers. That is the head office, and we have 8 regional offices. Kisumu, we are located at Mombasa. We have an office in Eldoret, Makueni. We have one in Meru, Nyahururu, and Garissa, and Isiolo, and also at all Huduma centers. We have a desk there. So as a Kenyan, kindly, if you, in fact, it's not even about delay only, this courtesy. We have public officers who are very rude and arrogant. You walk into a public office, you want to receive a passport or you want to receive a service, anakuuliza umekuja kutafuta nini huku? Ni wewe unamlipa, si yeye anakulipa. Ni wewe unamlipa, ni wewe umemwandika. Mwambie nimekuja hapa kuhudumiwa na nina haki ya kuhudumiwa. So such public officers, that is also a form of corruption. Report them to us and we will be able to help you. Thank you.
Makofi moja kwake. Thank you. And I'm informed that one of our panelists, Bwana Omoyo, David, is required somewhere. He's a chief guest. So I want to ask him this next follow-up question. And in case you have any questions for David, I normally call him Daudi, so I'm avoiding Daudi because we have another Daudi. Please feel free to write it and just forward it over as we did yesterday and also this morning. And if you read this report, David, in page 35, I'm sure that all of us have the report, isn't it? There is a very alarming, almost 50% there, and it says that more than half, the senator doesn't have the report. I'm reading it, but you can also see it, sir. Page 35. More than half of respondents, that's 54.7%, believe the media are sometimes complacent in exposing corruption. David Omoyo, is this true? Is it a validation? Is it a yes? Is it a no? What is your feeling about this? That 54% of the total number of those who are engaged in this survey of this report believe that the media is sometimes complacent in exposing corruption. And you can tie that to the issues of access to information, because I'm sure the media has also done a very good job in opening up some of this information. Welcome.
Thank you. Dr. Elias, I will say that the report has what we have research bias. Let me contextualize. That in the ecosystem of anti-corruption, we have several actors. Of course, we have the media, the churches, the community, the ESCC, the DCI, and all that. You notice that among the formal institutions that you put a lot of task on is the media. So the ESCC, the senator is paid by the public, ESCC is paid by the public, DCI, the courts, the prosecutors, and all that. Now, the media, individuals have to invest their own money and engage in extremely deep and costly investigations. And they are not funded by the public, that's number one. Number two, the best the media can do is report. If the media says, for example, that there are 180 classrooms that are incomplete in Busia County 5 years later, that is all the media can do. It's not the work of the media now to wake up and chase people and arrest them and all that, isn't it? Or if the media comes again tomorrow and says, there has been no disbursement to school, that's all a journalist can do. It's then up to Senator here to make his strategic noise in the Senate, call on the DCI to move and all that. So I think a few times, and I noticed that in Kenyans when they get very frustrated, they say, after media to ID when I report to Anawacha, isn't it? But you realize that the media has done their job for the day. And remember, the newsroom is now where we generate news, the headlines for TV, radio, and all that, is a very fast evolving matter, isn't it? Those who know that last week for 3 days we watched TV longer than we watched the whole year, because we had drama, I think so if you check. So, and then after that, the world has moved on, isn't it? We have other matters and our bill side and all that. So, while people would feel that the media should, because if, for example, the media reports that we have no classrooms, all the classrooms are incomplete, you cannot put that every day. You know, you cannot say we have no classrooms and all that and all that. It's actually the media's you are a strategic whistleblower, the other parties will follow. So I want to say that yes, the media does that, but they can barely follow. But number two is that, to the best of my knowledge, they try to follow up, but then there's a lot of exposure. Following up deep corruption stories is costly, expensive, and very risky. You have all heard the story that corruption fights back. And we have seen media houses being taken to court for defamation. And we have seen them paying, I think the last time we had, I think a media house pay a former Interior Cabinet Secretary 45 million for something they wrote that he was involved in corruption in the Interior Ministry. You've heard that, I think it's Christopher Mongal and all that, isn't it? So the media exposed the story. The person was never arrested, was not even questioned, moved to court, and the court has awarded this person, isn't it? So over time, well, it is very easy, and it's a very, I think we are fairly angry nation. We like throwing stones. The media, in the circumstances, does their best. What we have failed to do is like in the football field or volleyball, for example. You know, you have 3 touches of the ball when it's on your side of the net. So when the media has highlighted and thrown the ball to the next person, and the person drops the ball, so then we have another issue, the media keeps highlighting that. So I want to contextualize that the media has done that. Like we have to agree that there's always room for improvement, especially the issues of complacence and all that. But remember, the media also operates on the principle of right of reply and verification. Because if the media writes something that hurts you, and they have no evidence, or they suspect and all that, you sue the media. That's why you'll understand that media will say that officials at the ministry who refuse to be named sources told us and all that, isn't it? They are protecting themselves. They get fined. The journalists get taken to court and they pay heavy fines, 50 million, 23 million, because if you speak something about one person, it's a different fine than if you write about them or put them on TV, isn't it? You will notice that I think we had a narrow haste, Mara University haste, isn't it? And it was done on Citizen. What have I seen? I think the Vice Chancellor has been reinstated and the TV has been taken to court and she's demanding a lot of money, isn't it? Now, the person who put millions to do the story has put millions to pay a lawyer, and it could turn out they were forced to pay millions to the person they exposed to the corruption matter. So if you understand the ecosystem in which the media is working, then you realize that the public service role of the media has gotten, it's quite expensive to do that. And now you, the consumers, because of these mobile phones, you no longer buy newspapers and you don't watch TV much, isn't it? Now the advertisers, which is the primary source of money for the media house, have no longer advertised there. They do their work on Facebook, YouTube, and all that, isn't it? So the owners of the media house have no money to invest in the story, to pay the journalists, and to run the media house. I was in Parliament a month ago and I told MPs that 90% of Kenyan media houses cannot sustain themselves. They are unable to pay salaries now because the advertising, which is the primary source of income, has moved away to the social media, isn't it? And even if you do a good story on NTV or Citizen, for example, and put it on YouTube, it's YouTube that takes the money, not NTV that invested in getting the story done. And so you are here standing as a member of the public and demanding a lot from another member of the public who is the shareholder, who has to look for their own money and bring the story, and after they violated the story, ESCC will either be unable or it's the DCI to investigate and all that. Because if you run through the corruption stories done this year, there will be no less than 200 headlines, isn't it? But follow-ups from those stories, there will be no more than 20 at least questioning, isn't it? Seattle utachoka. Thank you.
Makofi mazuri kwa leo. And Senator, I'll be coming over to you.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to make a follow-up. You exactly validated what the survey was saying. Exactly 100% as you have explained. That complacence is out of, they report and nothing happens. They report and nothing happens. So they follow, so they are doing their best. Actually, that's what the survey shows. The other area I thought you might react to is the survey shows that many people want children voices in anti-corruption, but with protection, legal protection. So I don't know whether that's a new way of trying to see whether children can be part of the anti-corruption campaign.
Thank you. I responded to the question earlier there. We have a code of practice for media in Kenya. And we have, I think, Article 18, if I remember what we have about protection of children and minors in coverage of news. But if you look at it from a perspective that you look at children as subjects or sources. When the children are sources, it's them speaking. When they are subjects, when you highlight their input. I spoke earlier about if you have no classrooms, isn't it? The children are subjects. If we have no vaccines, the children are subjects, isn't it? If we have deaths at Kiambu level 5 hospital because the doctors answer, they are subjects and all that. I think from an ethical perspective and considering the complexity of these things, we are safer children as subjects so that we can perceive that because an adult did not do something, children have to walk 20 kilometers to school, they have no classroom, the teachers are out and all that. Because the mind of the child has no capacity to perceive the capitation did not go, isn't it? The child simply knows that I have no desk and I sit on a stool, isn't it? The child knows we have no uniform or we have no books. If you try to complicate the child, so it is possible, for example, to say we were told there is money, it is missing and all that. But you must understand that otherwise you will complicate and then you will be accused of using children to defame people. So I think in a safe environment, it is now up to us, the key stakeholders, the duty bearers, to perceive why don't we have classrooms, where did the capitation go, in which account, when was it supposed to go and all that. So when people want, I think sometimes, and we have done, I've done a bit of that about traveling theatre, when children use gigs and comedy to bring out issues of corruption and all that, but that's the fight can go. Otherwise, you can't allow, it's not about allowing them. It's a fairly complex web, and they may not know, and you may, there are things people speak in whispers. I think even one senator spoke, says we have allowed one person to control money and all that, I did not name, but I know he will probably name when he has his privileges and protections in the house, not here. But so the point is you can't allow, because children may not measure the implications, isn't it? But I think that by the media highlighting how corruption affects children and minors, that is enough if we wanted to act. If you don't know kama sasa watoto wajisemea wenyewe and all that, you have heard people saying that sasa leo nilikuwa nataka kuja lakini ng'ombe ni mgonjwa, unapatia ng'ombe simu. It's you're trying to complicate a matter, isn't it? You do not believe that, so the children don't have to say that pesa yetu ya darasa iliibiwa. The children simply have to say, we sit under a tree to study, isn't it? That we adults take that and all that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Makofi moja kwake. And Dr. Masi, as we talk about this issue of children's voices, and you stood here and you told us that you also are safeguarding testament, we allow the CEO of the Media Council.
I will appreciate the questions.
Yeah, if we have any
questions. The study knows where to get me. Unless there is a question, urgent question from the audience, one or two. But if you send questions or I saw the format in the morning, yes, they can be replied to. Yeah. Please don't put your number because I will not write back.
Thank you. Tupige makofi anapoenda. Staff for him and notice the door, just keep clapping. If you don't clap for the CEO, tomorrow you become a CEO, you clap for him. Keep clapping until he exits the door. Thank you so much. So as we talk about children's voices, Dr. Chege, and you have heard the senator spoke about it, the ombudsman spoke about it, and the Media Council also talked about it. How can we be able to safeguard children from the theft of public funds against their interests insofar as service delivery is concerned? What must we do, and what is it that we are not doing, and we therefore need to do it rightly at that time?
Okay, thank you so much. And maybe just to take you a little bit back before I answer your question, I like that the question of child participation is coming up, because if we look at our Constitution, Children's Act 2022, they have all borrowed something from the international laws. And we know that according to UNCRC, that is the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, there are 4 main principles that we cannot ignore. And if you look at our Constitution, if you look at our Children's Act, they are very well explained there. And the first one is non-discrimination. So even as we ask ourselves, let's understand what is this children's rights that we are talking about and how are they being denied. So we look at discrimination. I had this partnership with DKA. We have projects in Turkana, Marsabit, and Samburu, and other marginal, and what we call the marginalized or the difficult to reach counties. And one of the things that I noticed is that children are not aware that they're supposed to be in school. Why? Because it is their culture to wake up in the morning from the age of 5 and you're given a herd of goats and camels and cows to go and graze. But when you look at the rights, as they are enshrined in our Constitution and even in the other international laws, you realize that they are indivisible. Rights are indivisible for children and for every human being. So you cannot take away the rights from somebody and you keep the majority, because Turkana is inaccessible, some areas are inaccessible, because Turkwell, you have banditry and the roads are bad. And you say, so we'll take all the schools to Central, we'll take all the schools to Nyanza, we'll take all the schools to Coast, we'll take all the schools to wherever else, and you leave the child who does not know that they have their rights. So that is discriminating them because they're not even aware that they are entitled to education because they've grown up not seeing people go to school. And it takes a missionary to go there and tell them, you need to be in school. I would say it should take a chief to tell the parent, all the children need to be in school. So when we talk about the best interest of the child, because that is the other principle of child rights, we're talking about what is really good for this child and who should actually go and tell this child or this parent it is in the best interest, if you want to change your community, that this child knows that there is a school that they're supposed to attend from the age of 4 years. And you would imagine that these things don't happen, but I can tell you, and maybe there are people from those areas here, they will tell you that there are some places that are so hard to reach. And the community, once you get someone who educates one of you, they are really doing well. If only they were given a push. If there was a school that is not 20 kilometers away, the 4-year-old will be able to go to school. But there isn't. And I just want to give you an example. I went to a school where they cannot get the junior high school because there are only 30 children who are enrolled in that school. I think you're supposed to get 100 enrollment so that you can go to school. However, there is what we call a shepherd school that has been started by the Catholic missionaries there. And that shepherd school has 60 shepherd boys and girls who come to class to learn how to read and to write in the evening. And now they're getting to know, we're supposed to be in school. So what is in the best interest of this child? Make Chekuti, those shepherd schools, make them like an alternative form of education that can actually be integrated in the other education system. The right to survival and development is really affected by corruption. Because it's not even just about the food and the water and the basic needs that the child needs. These children are so deprived of their, of the very basic things that they need to develop, their self-esteem, their critical thinking, even getting out of their home area. Interesting enough, do you know what the missionaries are doing in that area? They are actually getting money from known as like DKA to bring children to Nairobi to show them that there's another Kenya other than the one that they know. Somebody asked, should we be talking about FGM in 2025? I think we shouldn't be talking about let's go to Nairobi so that you can see a different Kenya in 2025. I know we'll be in 21st century. Every child should know that there's a village that is not their own. Even there was Swahili wanasema kutembea kwingi. And I think every child deserves to see. Every child deserves to know that there is a world that exists outside the Manyata, outside the small hut that their parents have provided them with. When we talk about participation, it's even worse because we have what we call the Kenya Children Assembly, which is a guaranteed right, and there's even a policy for child participation in Kenya, but it is not funded. It is at the mercy of development partners, and the civic space is shrinking, that is one. And the other thing is that there isn't too much money that's coming. You have seen that after what USA did, there are a lot of other donors that are cutting back their funding. So those who used to consistently fund the Kenya Children Assembly, which is considered one of the platforms for child participation, they can no longer be able to do that. And the government has not allocated enough money to the State Department of Children's Services so that they can be able to do all these activities. So they are dealing with emergencies. So when you think about participation and we want the children to be able to participate, I believe, and this is not contradicting what the CEO of the Media Council has said, children can participate. But child participation has its own guidelines. It's not taking children to the streets, it's giving them a platform. And there is already a platform that is in the Kenyan policies where you bring children together from different parts of the country and they get together and they are guided on discussions like the ones we are having. As young as, in fact, you stop becoming a member of the Children Assembly the minute you hit 18 years. That means that it's meant for children who are above 6 and who are below 18. And all these things they can comprehend. And we can teach them to ask for their rights in the right way by developing policy papers, by meeting the parliamentarians, and I think there has been a lot of organizations that have been pushing children to be able to go to parliament and talk to the members of parliament. And there is a lot of influence that is going on, and sometimes they are listened to. And this ends up in policy documents, sometimes even changes in law. Like the Children Act 2022 has actually incorporated a lot of views on children, and I remember I was part of that process for a very long time, just getting the views from children. So we need to make sure that they have what they call, what we call a platform for them to participate, so that they can be able to deal with these issues. But I think the effect of corruption is not even what we can see. It is what we cannot see. In 2019, the African Union published a position paper, and they titled it Stolen Futures. We're talking about the things that children are denied and they will never get because they never got them and they never knew that they could get them and they can demand for them. So you realize that children grow without self-esteem because when you put a child who has never been to school and they're 19 years old, and all they have done is gone to to shepherd their parents' cow, and you put them with somebody from another part of the country who have gone to school, and like 10 years, they are auditors, they have gone to different places, good schools, Alliance High School, whatever, and you cannot compare the two. You cannot, the ground is not level for all the children in Kenya. And I think that for me, even before we start saying what can we do, can we level the ground that every Kenyan child knows what they're entitled. And after they know what they're entitled, then they can be able to speak out. Where is that platform for every child in Kenya to know that they are actually entitled? And I think that is very important. Tokenism is the order of the day. You call children together, you give them some information, and you say that, oh, we had 100 children and this is the resolution. They haven't spoken. Why? Because they're not even aware of their rights. And when we teach them the children's rights, which is actually even in the school curriculum, the parents are up in arms. We, parents, are up in arms. That, oh, you're teaching them to be naughty, to be argumentative, and then they will be so argumentative. One of the schools I admire most for the rights of the young people is Starehe Boys Center. And I happened to have one of my sons in Starehe Boys Center. They argue. If you ever went to Starehe or you taught in Starehe, you teach the kids to be politicians, to be lawyers, to be advocates, because you cannot lie to them. And I used to get irritated. Now I appreciate. Now I really appreciate that they can actually talk, that they can challenge me, that they can actually teach me. And that is why I have grown and I am listening more. So we need to get to a place where we step back and ask ourselves, do these children have something to say? Do these young people have something to say? Because it is enshrined in the Constitution that they should get information, that they need to be heard, and not just heard, but whatever they have said, they need it to be implemented. So when somebody goes to report a case of child sexual abuse, I think this is at the heart of what I do, because I am actually a safeguarding investigator. I investigate cases of sexual violence in projects and all that. One of the things that I have seen over the years is that the children cannot talk. When something has gone wrong, when they have been sexually violated. Why? Because of the family. And I think yesterday we talked about family. Today we've talked about the family. And the reason why we lose cases is because of the family. Huyu ni baba yako. Sasa akienda jela utakuwa mkikula nini? That's the way the conversation starts. You go to the police station and you find a police officer who is so exhausted. They have been on duty for 36 hours. Na wewe umekuja kuripoti baba yako alafu kesho utakula nini? And the story continues. But the thing you know, the evidence has been compromised, the statement cannot hold in court, and the case is thrown out, and justice has not been served. So it's not about not having enough magistrates, not having enough prosecutors, not having enough policemen, but it's also about what are we telling these children at home about what they are entitled and what they should go for. So I think there's just so much that goes into it. And the stolen futures is not about just education and not getting water and not getting to go to school. I think it's a lot more that has to do with the person not growing and developing to their full potential, to know what they are worth and what they are entitled to.
Right. Kwake moja, and I agree with a lot of what you've said. But as we talk about the rights of children, their justice, the cost of corruption that takes away services from them, because it's been close to, I think, 36 days. I need to check, but I think the Dawn's strike began on 17th September, right? Should be around 36 days by today, or thereabout. And the concern is that lecturers are on strike. It therefore means that our children in universities are actually not learning. Why is this happening? Is it because of corruption or theft of public funds? Is it that we do not have the money to sustain dons against the CBA? Or is it simply that the country is mismanaged? And as we talk about that, I also am informed that you undertook research on politics of populism. So you can tie both of those two things as you respond to this interesting question. Karibu.
Thank you very much. I think a lot of our challenges at different levels, and I think now, from family, even from individuals, families, communities, and the general society, can be traced to governance. You speak to a lot of people, and we've gotten to a point, and I think somebody said this, we've become numb. It is now normalized that, for example, schools don't get capitation. Most of our kids just went home. Some are released early because there's no money. And when there's no money, what do teachers do? They send kids home. And sometimes these days, if you are in some of the schools, especially among the economically challenged, you send kids home, and then I've had a teacher say that we send them home and we have to convince them to come back. And then part of this goes now to the whole system. If you go to universities, what is in contention, for example? One is a CBA that was signed in 2017. So CBAs are signed, but there is no money. That is what we are told. But they are also so, we know the powers are quoted in many places saying, we can raise 100 billion for this, we can raise 50 billion for this. So I think kids don't matter, but it is not just that. Those of us who spend time in universities know the challenges that now students go through. Right now I have a young man that I live with who was brought to me because I called him in examination. And he wanted to be allowed to sit for examination. And I saw a young man who was hungry, who hadn't showered. And before I could even deal with issues of him sitting for exams, I knew this is a kid who is being pushed to an edge, to the edge. I took him home. I live with him today. I had to fundraise for him to do exams and, from well wishers. Because these are the kind of students now we are encountering. And I'll come back to the strike. I have a colleague who says that administrators in universities should undergo counseling. We are now seeing, for the first time, the last 2 years, I've seen kids who are deep in drugs. And it is because the university space has changed. And how did it change? I went to universities in the mid-90s, and you would be allocated a room that was very affordable. I remember in 1996, we used to pay 23 shillings a day for a room. So what is happening now, the university admits students, but 80% cannot be guaranteed accommodation. So where do you go? You go and find the cheapest place, but also, those who went to university in the 80s and 70s, and maybe early 90s, you used to hear people talk about university striking because of a sausage, right? And somebody was saying, if you have a population of 50,000 students, one sausage is a lot of money. So people used to feed, people used to get the basic needs. You would never go out of universities because you Today when we teach, we are told, for example, for you to be a student, you must be registered. And we are finding instances where what we call regular students who are supposed to be paid for by government, and they're paying a small amount, but they cannot afford. So you go to class, you have 50 students, but there are only 20 on the list. Now, the whole issue has to do with the neglect of education. And it doesn't start actually with, with university. It starts from the lower level, all the way from ECT. So, I think, and if you think about it, the professoriate or the lecturership, people have been patient. But I can tell you, we've had a strike every single year at the beginning of academic year, which is September. Last year we had a strike, the year before we had a strike, but so nobody cares. And I think at this point, the lecturers have said we have to get what is our due. But I think these issues, when they come up, for example, at the University of Nairobi, it is not just about the salary, which is at the national level. There is unpaid, what we call direct service provision. When you teach part-time students, there is money. So you are not paid. Right now, we don't have medical insurance, so we have our health center. Our health center doesn't have medication. So you go there, you cannot get medicine. We have questions, for example, there was an argument that the retirement age is 74, but the institution is still insisting on 70 years. So you are there, you aren't retired, but you are teaching, but you are not in the system. So and I think all these things have to do with the way the political leadership is treating people. And I want to come back to the question of populism. What is populism? Because it has become very prevalent when it comes to campaigning in terms of the leadership that we got. I think somebody asked who are the kind of leaders that we have. And populism is basically an ideology that is developed by aggrieved ordinary sections or by trying to appeal to aggrieved sections of ordinary segments of the society to try and counter the establishment. And we know in this country who, of course, is the establishment. They've always been, framed as dynasty. And what happens is there are certain effects that we see on democracy, and most of the effects of populism are actually negative. And one of those is when, for example, you raise an issue, and then you can go back to, I think when we were doing the first finance week, when government came, when issues of taxation were raised, the conversation was framed that it is those who are salaried who don't want to contribute. So because you are poor, you're a boda rider, a masoko, a mamboka, it is not your problem. And people actually want it. For some time they want it. Then they realized, if I have a salary and it is not enough, then if I'm the one who gives you kibarua, there is no kibarua to give you. At the end of the day, we end up in the same, in the same side. Populism affects civic participation. When you look at the populist tendencies, and populism, of course, tend to also take ethnic, dimension. So there are people, if you say your kids are not going to school, it can be said it is people from certain regions who are complaining about kids not going to school. But we also know some of these populist approaches lead to resources being taken to certain place, but in very minor way. But so you'll be told that your kids are not going to school because money is going to certain place, but it's not. So when you, as citizens, we cannot have single relevance, then the participation is problematic. I think the other thing that is affecting our children is the divisive nature of populist politics. The divisions, I think most of us, especially who live in the city, our kids don't know their ethnicity. They don't know their ethnicity. They have friends. They only recognize friends. But, and right now, for example, if we are on Twitter, the conversations that have been created in the last, I would say, 2 weeks, are actually divisive. It is, and I would say this, the current conversation is divisive politics between Mulima and the Nyanza. And we know this is deliberate. So when you make certain comments, they are always thrown also. And it is this populism. And you can see who is driving the conversation. There is an end goal. And the end goal, of course, is to sustain certain power. And the other thing that we see, for example, is promises that never reflect reality. If you go back to the manifesto of the current government, I'm sure you will find very good notes on how they are going to education. All the way from, foundation to higher level. But those promises are not being, they are not being fulfilled. But there are so many conversations that are used to mask these realities. So when when people from your community are hosted in the state house, and they are they eat and they get fat bars, does that mean that your kids are going to school? But it is those who are supposed to speak. It is the duty holders who are being hosted, so they're not going to speak. There's also a lot of division and marginalization of voters, and this is what we found, and people are talking like, you cannot speak in one voice because you've already been divided. You've already been told, for example, that your region is privileged. You have tarmac roads, you have well-established schools, so you can't have a single conversation. So I think these are some of the issues that we see. I think one that is also related to the media, including social media, and people are becoming a bit aware of it, is how now we have conversations that are used to mask the current problems. So if, for example, the government passes certain things, they make sure that there are maybe 3 alternative parallel conversations that make you not think about the others. Are we talking about kids who have gone home that didn't have optimal training? In the news, what is the coverage of the current strike? It is very minimal because there is a lot of information overload that is being put there so that you don't think about the issues. And you will always be distracted by some issues that are not necessarily the major issues. Thank you.
Kofi moja kwake daktari. So we are winding up on the panel, and I'm inviting my good brother and friend in the village we call him Odosh, Eric Odongo, to lead us through this. But let me just allow them to respond to a few of these things as they make their last comments. And Senator, you have listened to the conversation. When you listen to Dr. Gadigi, yesterday when we were here, there's a lot of hope that was sold to us. And we bought it, we carried it in our bags, some of us put it in our hearts, and we said the future is looking bright, isn't it? You remember the hope for yesterday? Yes. You still have the hope? Yes. You still have it? Yes. Even after listening to Daktari? Yes. You are still hopeful? Yes. How many, as many as are hopeful, say aye. Aye. As many are not hopeful, say nay. Nay. The nays have it. But yet, Senator Okiya Mtata has been very vocal about some of these issues. He's been a champion. He's gone out there. He's done petitions. Where I serve at County Governance Watch, we work with citizens. We help them to write petitions and letters to ask questions from their county governments and their governors. And Senator, to be honest, I don't remember any single case. Maybe there are a few, but maybe I've been quite progressive and positive-minded. I don't remember a case that you've taken to court and has failed. Not just now, but even in the previous regime, including the procurement one for your own county, Busia County, where governors were trying to run away from taking responsibility. But as you listen to Dr. Gadigi, and he's telling us this is what is happening, even our coverage of the strike is not happening effectively, what must we do to be effective in the war against theft of public funds. What is it that you are doing that you think maybe the citizens are not doing to be very effective in ensuring that we defend the country? Senator, in about 2 to 3 minutes.
I think that question was answered in scripture. My people perish for lack of knowledge.
That is what book? Hosea chapter 4 verse 6, right?
Yes, and if you look at these countries, people are just to read, we will get very far. I'll give you an example of how people don't read in this country. Every month, the treasury, after every month, the first week of every month, the treasury publishes what they call statement of actual revenue and net expenditure issues. That shows you how the government has spent your money. How much it has raised, how much it has spent. Gives you a balance sheet every month. And for some good reason, there are very good civil servants doing the treasury. They always give us a words and all picture of what is happening. But Kenyans never read that thing. Kenyans will complain about corruption, will complain about whatever, will complain about whatever. But this thing is published on the website of the treasury. It's not hidden. Now, I'll give an example of how that document is important. In the last budget, the salaries for judges, the president, and all people are paid to the consolidated fund. That's why when the KRA collects money, it goes into what they call the consolidated fund. There are people who are paid directly from that fund. Others, they get their salaries from the budgets that are made by Parliament. But those who are paid directly, the salaries must be there. The budget for that category was only 4.2 billion shillings for the year, which when you divided by about the 12 months in a year from July 1st, 2025, July 1st, 2024, to June 30th, 2025, you will find that the people are to be paid, that particular vote head was to take 301 million shillings from the treasury, from the consolidated fund. And every month they took that. Then in January, they withdrew in 1 month. They exited that figure by 19.6 billion shillings. And then in February, they went back to 3.01. Now, first of all, this money that is paid directly from the treasury, so it doesn't go to the control of budget, it doesn't go whatever. But remember, the entire budget for the year was only 4.2 billion. But in 1 month, they withdrew, because we take 19.6 plus 3, we find that about 20 billion was withdrawn in 1 month. It's 5 times the own budget. Now, if you were reading in this country, that kind of things would make us mad. And if you go through that every month, you go through it, that particular issue of taking it to the Senate, I've raised a question on it, and it is being processed. But if you look at that document every month, if you just take time and look at it, you will see how money is being stolen from your people. Now that 20 point, I don't know how many billions the lecturers are speaking about. How much? 7.9. Now, in 1 month, in January of this year, 19.6 billion shillings was just pulled out of the consolidated fund. So whoever we don't know, and it went. So when I say that we need to lock up the treasury, take the keys away from the president and put them in an independent technocrat so that the treasury can be run like a bank, where you bring it has to be the budget, and then you have to have the controller before the money is released, not on the whims of an individual. Today, and that has been done because we have failed to implement the constitution, which requires us to set up an independent treasury, and decided to create the treasury not as the way the central bank is, but we decided to make the treasury a ministry of the national government. And then we say that if you go to the Public Finance Management Act, Section 11, they tell you the treasury is the Minister for Finance, the PS for Finance, and the departments. Now, the Minister of Finance are appointed by the President, the PS are appointed by the President, both serve under the pleasure of the President. There is no security of tenure. So who is the treasurer? It's the President. You see? And that's why you'll find that MPs go ahead and make a budget in Parliament, which we fight over and we pass. But when there's a national function that the President appears, at a national function, be it a FINROL, be it a church function, you'll find the local MPs begin making a mini budget with the President. They tell the President, we need the bridge here, we need this school here, we need this thing there, and the President says we shall do that. That is what the problem is. And I want to go back. What was happening in January? In this country, what was happening in January this year? What was happening in January this year? This is not just a hypothesis, I don't know the facts, but I'm just trying to understand why 19.6 billion shillings using the salaries of clients to be stolen. Because if there had been a change, I would expect that change to be sustained in February. But in February, they went back and paid the 301. What was happening in January was that our late Baba was running for the African Union seat. And the money had been gotten to finance this kind of things. And the money was stolen from you people to finance this kind of things. That was my hypothesis. When I've tried to look around and understand, that's a lot of money. Where did it go? So if that money had been budgeted properly, the lecturers would not be on strike. The doctors would not be on strike. So for me, the solution lies in going back and saying, what is the design of our constitution? It's like me, I've come from the village, where the toilet and the house, the main house, are separate. But then I come to visit you in the city and I say, I'd like to answer the call of nature, and you tell me just to use that room. Then I use it, and I say, Allah, when you can avoid being shambuled by night runners when you're trying to run. Then you say, I'm going to put a similar house in the village when I go back. So I go, I do everything, I buy. Then I build my house, and I decide that this is knowledge that is being hidden. I want this knowledge to be known by everybody. So I'll put my toilet in the living room. Will it work? Design. Design, design, design. So we must go back and look at the design of societies, the design of systems. When we get those designs correct, I'm telling you, if we take the money away from the president, they talk of separation of powers. The powers are money, the powers are justice, the powers are the executive. Right now, and from the colonial times, the executive and the money have been together. So Parliament has just been a lapdog. And because MPs have promised that people are going to assist you get ABCD, then you go to Parliament and you realize that the only way is by proximity to power. And power is like a god. When you approach power, you have to bow. You can't approach power like this. You approach power like this. The way you approach God, you bow down. And even just the way, like even God, you don't address God in broken English. You address God in poetry. You can listen to the songs we sing, you can listen to everything. You don't talk to God in broken prose. You talk to God in poetry, refined poetry. And you have seen some of our, they also do it very well, and the Protestant preachers sometimes, you get an accent that comes out. That's how you address power. So people have to bow. So when unlocking resources is left to proximity to power, the country does not work. So when you mix the power of money and the executive power in one office, you end up with an emperor. Not a sign that the Constitution has that the president should be a perpetual lobbyist, lobbying Parliament to allow him to pass his budget, to do his development agenda, lobby Parliament, is overturned, and so Parliament is under now begs the president because he has got a knife and a cake. He doesn't need the Parliament. So we must fight and go back to a situation whereby we create that independent treasury. Even devolution is dying because you haven't had the president say, I have given money to counties. That statement should never be uttered by anybody. The treasury should be serving 48 governments, 47 devolved and 1 national, equally. And once the budget is done, that money should be, not after the national government has had its fill, then the crumbs are taken to counties. So I'm trying to spread this in that we come down and look at what is the design of our constitution. And to answer our problems is that we need to internalize and understand the constitution. Even right now, if you go to the one thing that is killing us, why there's no money for capitation, why there's other than the theft, we have borrowed loans, and today, by 30th November last year when I was doing my audit, out of every 100 shillings that the Kenya Revenue Authority raises, 82 shillings go to pay debt. Government remains with the 18 shillings. Now, when you got that debt, if you look at the law and follow the debt and say, okay, what have we borrowed legitimately? Right. You find that we have overpaid our legitimate debt by 3 trillion shillings. But we are still owing 12 trillion shillings. And this happened largely when President Kibaki left power. From independence, when Kibaki left power, our debt was only 2.7 trillion. When Tom and Jerry came into power, our budget, our debt has ballooned to levels we can understand. And that's why, and if you come to my office, I have a big screen that projects a graph. You will even find things about our debt. Even the handshakes were shooting debt up. So you wonder what's happening during handshakes. Yes. You see, oversight was going down. So you find that we have borrowed a lot of money, about 12 trillion shillings, that cannot be accounted for. Now, when you look at the papers of the Treasury puts it at about 6.9 billion. The Central Bank puts it at about 12 trillion. So it means fellows have been drawing money from the Central Bank and not paying debts. So that's why we have had a going to court, and even today we are having a ruling from here, we are going to court. It's a 3-judge bench. I have sued Uhuru Kenyatta, I have sued William Ruto, and all the officers under them. Out of Uhuru Kenyatta, I'm demanding that 4.6 trillion shillings, he comes out and accounts for that money. Because it's not seen anywhere in the budgets, but in the debts. William Ruto, 3.6 trillion. It cannot be accounted for. So when you get, and that's why I'm saying, we are suffering for lack of knowledge. Let us take time to educate ourselves of what is happening. Let us take this country seriously. and let us demand the rule of law. God was not an idiot to tell Adam and Eve that I'm not giving you power over yourselves. I'm subjecting you to the law.
Thank you, Senator.
And if only Adam and Eve had said no, we would still be in paradise. So let us learn to say no.
Wow. That would have been a very nice place to end it. But let me just ask, how many of us here come from counties in Kenya? Any county? No, don't say all of you because maybe some of you don't. How many, just if you come from a county? How many of us come from counties with a Department of Children's Services? See now, the hands are not even there because you don't know. How many of us know the budget of the Department of Children's Services in your county? But you said you come from counties. All of us. Now where are you? All of us. How many of us know the budget of the Department of Children's Services from their counties? So once you get the Department of the Children's Services, how many of us know the budget of ECD services from either children or education? That is purely what Mheshimiwa is saying. So you can't overdose over the national kama hata ile ya kwenu ya pale chini imekufanya nini? And that is purely how you hold accountable our leaders. You can't start talking, our budget is 4.3 trillion, right? 4.3 trillion na yenu ya 700 million inakuchanga. So we have to go back and begin to think how we will be able to exercise the right of children for them to fight justice. But as we head towards finishing, Dr. Massing, Senator has picked up one thing, and he said it's the design. The design of implementation, whatever we are implementing, the design of the institution. And as he was speaking, you mentioned the Children's Assembly. One of us here tells me that is a product of the Children's Assembly. Our of what? He left. Of Kenya School of Government, Kenya School of Law. He left. Joshua. And you need to find him to tell you a story as well. But what I wanted to ask is because I also know about other processes that have been very successful. At the devolution processes, before every devolution conference, normally we organize a children's devolution conference together with the Council of Governors, and I have seen it working very effectively. I also know that the Ministry of Education last year organized a children's education conference, because I've been part of those two processes. And I'm just wondering, especially given your safeguarding understanding and your comments about children's participation in their safeguarding, post this conference, what must we design to give children a voice so that we are not necessarily speaking for them? And how should that design look like in maybe 3 minutes?
Okay, thank you so much. I think even before we design anything, the most important thing is to let the children know that their rights are not supposed to be bestowed on them by a government. They are inherent. So they should be demanding for them. I think for us it's this to shape how they present their requests, because the government is the duty bearer and they are the right holders. And therefore, once they understand that, they will not go to the government and any other duty bearer like they are begging. I think that is the first thing. And then, if we could come up with all these systems, when we duplicate them, we waste a lot of money. If the Kenya Children Assembly is the oldest and it is in all the counties, because I know that's how they come to the national level, why do we have the Ministry of Education with their own system? Why do we have the Council of Governors with their own system and using money from different budgets? So that it's just so much. And maybe that's why the State Department of Children's Services does not have enough to organize their own, because it is being divided into 3 or 4 other national and government-led processes. So I think that is why bringing people together to discuss discuss the inherent and untransferable rights of the children in one table. The Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education, the Council of Governors, the State Department, and all that. I would have been complaining if it was like last year about where we domicile children's rights issues and child protection issues in the country. But I think there was a very positive movement that we were removed from the Ministry of Labor, because that did to it. How is the Children's Department under the Ministry of Labor? Yes. We didn't even have a voice, but now, where we are right now, I think we are okay. And I think that is why even the State Department makes a lot of sense. And we hope that, because this is just the first year, we'll see a lot of progress. But I think the advocacy to finance the State Department and give it oversight of all child protection issues in all the ministries, from education, you will be surprised that if an abuse happens in school, the head teacher can deny the children officer permission to go and talk to the child. It is that bad. Yeah. So these people need to talk. We all need to talk to one another, because the children's right and the justice that they deserve cannot wait. In 8 years, now in 10 years or 12 years, they leave the basic education and they are adults. They are going to high school. So there are some things that cannot wait. So I think it is sitting down together. And also now we need to start sensitizing ourselves, because I think we are a big part of the problem. And we sensitize ourselves that we need to develop a culture right from home, when they go to school, in the religious institutions, that children have to be listened to, they have to be seen, and they have to be heard. And whatever they say matters, because I don't know why we believe the psychologists of the 18th century that they are born tabula rasa. I don't believe that. In fact, even the bishop said there is something inherent that when you get a child who is 6 years, they somehow, God has put in them something, they know what is right and what is wrong. So we shouldn't assume that they don't know anything, and therefore we keep making all the decisions for them. There is a point at which you listen to them, you remove the childishness from them, and then you tell them, I think this is working. But when we dismiss it wholesome, that children are supposed to be heard and they are treasures, and they are what they call the arrows to our bow, so that we can just put them there and we see. They are not being heard, that's our problem. We need to develop a culture of listening, seeing, and respecting their views.
So if LCMC came to you with a proposal for a conference for children, I'm sure that would find favor, isn't it? But Daudi, 20 seconds of your last words as we close, and then we give Dr. also for 20 seconds to close. Last words.
Okay, mine is just to challenge everyone in this room. Again, to reiterate the importance of information, because you can't question when you're not informed. You can't exercise your right if you do not know it exists in the first place. So as we go home, let's challenge ourselves and get to know our rights as Kenyans. And if you know your rights, then you know you have a right to exercise that right, and the right institution to question in case of infringement of the right. So make sure as a Kenyan, you question, and you can only question if you are well informed. Thank you.
I want to speak to the direction that Mercy has spoken. I'm a critic of how we treat children and the adults. And I think, we are more democratic society where the older you are, the more valuable your opinions are usually taken. Older people tend to be right. I always remember when I was in nursery school, I was told I can't go to class 1 because I couldn't touch my ears. And I asked the panel, are you telling me we are going to class 1 to touch our ears or to learn? Because I had passed all the tests. So even older people do a lot of logical things, and we've seen it. And I think also there is a lot of, you can hear it, there's a lot of talking down of Gen Z, we talk about behavior, but the reality is we don't even know the experience. I always say I parent by guesswork, because I was never taken to school by a bus on a single day.
whether it is high school, but my kids, tend to be dropped to school. So we don't know a lot of what is happening in our children. So let's also listen to children. Children are actually very smart, as he says. At 6 years, if you listen to kids, I meet a lot of people who don't farm because they say, my father sold my favorite goat or my favorite cow. Let's also listen to what young people are saying. And I think a lot of things that we experience are not what people are experiencing. I think we can have intergenerational conversation that starts with children, with middle age, and even those who are older.
Thank you. Kofi moja kwao. Yes, sir. Should I allow the senator, sir?
Yes. I'm doing the Senate in the House. I wanted to say that the theme on children, we have missed out a very big aspect. Culture. Culture and children. Our culture is designed to frustrate children. All the women here feed their husbands better than they feed their children. Their favorite food goes to the husbands, not the children. Number two, when you go to the buses, you go to the bus.
Order, members, let's allow the senator.
Maybe the bus is full. The bus is full, and with this bus up here for holding on, you'll find an adult asking a child who cannot reach that bar to stand up for him to sit. You see? So we need to change our attitude against children. When you go to these parties, I do go for weddings, you look at it. The first group to eat is adults. Let us put children first. So if you have anything to do, let us say, okay, even in communion in church, say let the children first of all come and get communion. Then the adults can come. We need to change our culture and attitude to our children. We treat children as less than human beings. So all these debates will go nowhere unless we change that attitude to children. Let us stop abusing children. Thank you.
Wow. Yesterday we left with a run call as we wound up our panel yesterday. What was the carry home one? You carried your hand. Yes? Yesterday as we wound up our panel, most of the panelists spoke, but there's a one that we left with. What was it? Yes? Hope, isn't it? Yes. And today we are winding up with a one call. Wengine watapata elections ya next year. Culture. And Anthony gave us a very good, the train. I volunteer to appreciate our panelists today. We are not going back to the train. Someone else? Yes, please come. The gentleman with the laptop. Tupatie time atuongoze.
Myself, I want us to do a musical club. Most of you have done music. I did music up to and including for 4. So we have those music notes that we play. This side, the fika hapo kwa that madam in yellow, that one section. Then this section will remain as it is. Then this one as it is. Na hii ni moja, okay? Those of you who know music, make it easier for me. So this side, when I point your side, you clap what I have taught you, okay? Then I'll keep directing back and forth like a choir master. So this side, you're going to clap like this. That's the beat. Now this side only. You're not on that side. Let's follow instruction. This side, hapa peke yake iko tu. Keep it going. This side you're going to grab like this. Gotcha. This side is going to clap like. I want ta, then ta, then ta, then ta, okay? That's all. So let's all keep speaking. This side. Gotcha. Like this.
What he's saying is this. This side follows instruction. When it comes here, don't stop. You keep going. Akikuja hapa, nyinyi don't stop. You keep going. Munaendelea. Akikuja hapa, you also keep going. Mpaka tumalizie hapa. Can we try?
Let me do it on the microphone.
Okay.
Right. So don't follow their pace. Just keep your pace. Sawa. Right. Let's go. This side. One. Ngoja. One.
Tuharakishe hiyo process please.
This side. This side, you're going this side. Okay. This side you go like that. Umepata sasa? This side. This side is that. This side is. This side is. What you're planning, Sasa. I can point this side and that only, this and this only, this and that only, Sasa. Right, but inside me. This side is
asanteni sana. Thank you to our panelists. Please, as we recess, I wish to invite Udosh. As that happens, okay, just maintain your seats. We will have a session for plenary. The questions that were raised to the PS have already been answered. They've sent the responses. I've heard them to Denson. So in case there are 7 questions, you can find your responses. Tumpigie makofi mazuri kwa Udosh. Haya, tata. Kiweni watoto.
Senator and the guests before us, the LCMC team, and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's always very difficult to speak after very good people have cheered about.
Right.
But we'll give it a shot. So, I've been given a very simple task. My name is Eric Mkoya. Udosh is from Taani, where I was born. I work for the National Commission of Jurists, Kenyan section, but I'm here, the task I'm supposed to help us get some questions. I want to say we'll take 3 questions here, 2 questions there because you are few. 3 questions there, 3 questions here, 2 questions here. But I have 1 question here that is already earmarked for Senator Utata and Madam Mercy. So can you begin with this side, please? 2 questions.
My question is to the Senator.
kuja uweke hii na kupitisha. Nimesema mko na ile.
My question was, yesterday someone spoke about devolution and how it continues to facilitate theft of public resources, as you called it, not corruption. And I was wondering, you are part of devolution because you're a senator, and we are saying we have so many positions that were created, and someone was here, they say they were part of the conversation, and that's...
Please, let's make it short.
Yes.
Let's make it short, please.
Do you, in your thoughts, think devolution is helping to curb theft of public resources, or is it just facilitating the continuation of what we had in the older system of governance where we had regions and stuff?
Pass it to your colleague there, the lady. Good afternoon.
And I'm asking you, Mercy, what are you doing for children to have voice? Since I know from the primary level, this is our community and the level of our family. Children still have no voice, and I think this is because when some of us were raised up, and especially when we come to gender, women were not supposed to talk, and you come and you get a point whereby a child is being sexually molested by the father, as he has said, and then when it goes like a woman is the one who is carrying all this burden, and there is a point to start, and this is a police station. They go to police station, and just want to give a scenario a little bit. You go to a police station and there is no justice. You are sent to the doctor. You go to a doctor, and now we are talking about rape for a girl. And you know, medically, it should not go up to 72 hours before the child is being attended. And because of poverty, this child is being neglected all the way from police station. Come to the hospital, there's no money for this to be facilitated. She sent somewhere else. The doctor seems to be so busy. The child is sent to somewhere else, and at one point, this mother gets exhausted. Simply because poverty, my friend. So what are you doing to give civic education, and especially to mothers in rural areas and to our ghetto areas, just to know where to start just in case? Thank you.
Thank you. Please present. Please, go to the two ladies in front.
Good afternoon. My name is Alice Mushiri. I have listened to the speakers, but I have an issue that there is an aspect of children's life that we are not talking about. That is the mental health. Our children are suffering and deeply suffering. And since the cultures we have had, we don't listen to them. They are undergoing issues that nobody is really understanding. When are we going to let them have a voice and listen to them, even to express themselves of what they are not able to express, maybe fabric. So I request this to Mercy and the others that we need to give our children a hearing voice before we do any other things, to listen and to understand what they are going through. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope the Senator will be able to respond to that partly, because I think we should know that in this country there is no mental facility for children. So with that background, we have the Senator could also help us answer the question. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Penina, a survivor of injustice and a member of CJPD, St. Clair Parish. Yeah, we've been told that as a landlord, I can enter any office and get information. What my question is to the media team,
What's being done to ensure children and minors get or access information about their rights? Bear in mind that not all have the privilege of accessing television or media like those from Marimanti, where we saw on television that they have no classes. What's being done?
Thank you. One more person there, then we move there. And because they've been ladies, maybe you have chosen a man.
Mine is not a question.
Okay. And I hope you'll be brief.
Yeah, very brief.
Thank you.
So I wanted to say that perhaps I feel like today's discussion has been an eye-opener for so many of us. And my take home today is that the bus stops with us. Number one, we need to get information. We need to get a lot of information so that that can aid us from perhaps making informed decisions. Because now I feel like some of these questions that you're asking here, perhaps we'll be able to answer them if we have the information. So let us seek information first, and perhaps we'll be on the right trajectory.
Thank you. Maybe a neighbor and short. That will be the last question, not throw, then we come here. Thank you. And here.
I'm a senior citizen, Mzora Kijiji, and my only worry is that moving from this place today, I've learned so many things, and I wonder, how do I pass this information to the villagers? Ama watu wazee na wamama wa mtaa. Mimi naona hiyo motivation watu watakaa hivyo tu, because we never ask the senator, do you have forums for the counties? Do you have a senator of Busia? Do you have forums at your place so that we can mark the same? Do you have absolute in Nairobi? Because I know people want to vote with their emotions, not worry. Thank you very much. I know we had a case with him. When the pensions, when the Kenyan pension they wanted to take it from 6 to 7%, while my pension was 12 and 15%. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Senator. Here, there, and there. There's 3 hands.
Yes, I think I have a contribution to Senator. Yes, so thank you so much. I relate my contribution to a presentation that was given yesterday by a very resourceful gentleman, Dr. Abraham Mugo. He told us yesterday that for us to solve some of the problems that we have in this nation, we have to work towards reducing the size of our government. That the government was too big to serve its current population. As an aspiring presidential candidate for 2027 election, and by the way, let me confess my love for you, not the other love, not intimacy, but as a result of what you've been able to do to this nation. You are saying you are not a human rights defender. You are one because you are able to pick up a task. Alright, somebody slept on the job, but as a result, you've been able to awaken us. Through you, we have challenged that for us to get the Kenya we desire, we must come out and speak out our issues. So what would be your contribution to the fact that our current government is too large? We need to reduce it for it to serve this population, because the thinking is changing the leadership, and that is government and all the electoral position, is not a solution. We may have another president come the next general election, but if we don't work on reducing our government, we shall never get it right. Thank you.
Please, I will only allow you and this lady, then we close. I think there are concerns from
some of the guests, so they're supposed to be elsewhere. So please put the blame on me. I'll only take the 2 last questions. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Sil Kalonji, since yesterday. And I was telling you, habari za mchana? Okay. Now, the first segment goes to Mr. Mtata. He might not know it, but he's actually the person who drove me into analyzing the budget. In my teen years, I'm currently a member of the Nairobi Budget Champions, courtesy of you. Now you know. In regard to safeguarding children's rights, I'm thinking there's a possibility of monitoring activities in Busia County. These activities I'm speaking about are disco matanga. We all know the vices. Zenye disco matanga, you have children spending the night unsupervised. Can you put instruments in place to monitor the children? Hapo wanatoa vices like the first sexual encounters. That also includes defilement, kuna smoking, kuna alcohol, there's bullying and etc. Yes, please. And then the second one goes to, as a special interest to safeguarding children in sports. And in that, I've been a sportswoman. I've been in sports since I was 9 years old and still a sportswoman. I played the national catchball team for Kenya. Children are still not being well represented and their interests are not being well safeguarded. That's including the payments, their safety. We have coaches defining them, we have coaches harassing them. They are removed from the teams unlawfully without any consideration. And then also how to handle children in conflict with the law. I see them being held in adult cells. Can we follow up on that and have a separate cell, or is it even necessary to hold children in cells that is police custody? And then lastly, time is a resource that we should know. We need a revision of our curriculum, of our education curriculum. We have children going to school at very odd hours in the morning. Wanatangulia wazazi, 4 a.m. watoto wako kwa stage. Why? No one is speaking about it. We have children coming back from school at 7 p.m. anakuja after mzazi. These children go to school even on Saturdays. When do they rest? When do they interact? And that is part of their rights as children. I'll end it there for today. I hope for more interactions. Shukran.
First, we would like to comment. Thank you.
Good afternoon, participants and our wonderful panels. My name is Dr. Juliet Kenemia. I was here yesterday, a commissioner from Kiambu County, St. Joseph Kawasukari. First of all is to just thank the organizers of this, because tumepata a lot of information. So we have something to do at community level. And like I said yesterday, you cannot be able to influence if you do not associate with the national government organization, imetangwa ngao. So from here, let us go and engage our chiefs and share all this information that we have received. So that from there, then we will be able to actively get involved in even processing information. Because we have all the information available in the websites, but we don't. Why? Because we don't have community structures. If I can share an experience, I have worked very closely with Makueni County, and let us take time to study how Makueni County is able to have a very solid society, because they have employed what is called the whole of society approach in dealing with their issues. They have project management committees at village levels, they have structures. And within these structures is where all these things we have had today are processed, including how do we support the university students. So that is takeaway for us. Question to the senator. I am so shocked at that pilferage. Is it called pilferage from the consolidated fund that is uncontrolled and at the whims of just the president? You know the Senate cannot do anything to amend the Finance Management Act so that this money in the consolidated account then is also or catches the eye of the controller of budget. Senate, you need to do something. And we are lucky because every county is represented in Senate. We can adapt our Mtata to be our emissary to our senators.
Please finish, madam.
So we are sending you Mtata, but you must do something to block that, because going to court is not working for our country. Thank you.
So thank you so much. We'll begin with the senator for the questions that have directly away. Maybe each person 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Thank you. Senator, let's go.
Yeah, my questions were many, beginning with one that says it's risky to comment on the budget process and what have you in the counties. I go back to the question of design. When we send money to, and also the other question on how money is being abused in devolution, when we send money down to the counties, what do? We give the money to the governor. And then, unlike the national government, which has got a lot of structures, the governor does not even issue, is not even required by law to issue that monthly statement of how to spend the money. So we must separate money from the executive to cure that. In my own county, I commissioned a fraud audit for the budget of 2022-2023. The budget was 8.6 billion, and the fraud auditors established that 5.2 billion was stolen from a budget of 8.6 billion. So what was left? When you take away 2 billion in salaries, what is left for the county? And you go to Busia, virtually nothing is happening. Some of you who watched the TV the other day when I persuaded my fellow senators to go and sit in Busia, you saw how the governor was unable to answer questions, where even things that are supposed to be done by the medical, whatever, the Kenya medical, the government regulator, where people are being paid to determine whether that was an ICU, to determine whether the government, the hospital was level 4 or level 5, and you know, it's the government who say, okay, classify the government hospitals. So this kind of privilege is there. If this money was going into accounting treasury, which is governed by a professional, and the only way you can access it is through the budget process, we'll be able to control. Another thing we have to appreciate is that in the government, there's only one policy document. There are not two, but one policy document. And that policy document is called the budget. If you want to see how the children are being treated, go and look at the budget. Are there allocations for the budget? That's why I like the question that was asked here, how much is allocated to nursery schools. So if we familiarize ourselves with the budget and understand the budgeting process, we will realize the government has only one tool. You can write acres and acres about the boy child, the girl child, but if it's not in the budget, it is not there. So let us go back and look at the design that's in the Constitution and make sure that that design is held. The question about the treasury. Article 225, clause 1, requires the treasury to be established by an act of parliament. But what did we do? We went ahead and established the treasury through a section of the Public Finance Management Act, and it made the president the treasurer. So that effort that was done in the constitutional process to try and slay the monster that began with when the colonialists came here. Jomo Kenyatta, Arap Moi, then Mwai Kibaki, part of it. We still lost it, and yet the constitution requires us to do the right thing. So we need to go back and look at that design and implement it. The other thing about the Minister of Finance. The Minister of Finance is just a puppet. It is the president who controls this country. The president runs this country the way he wants, because he already has the money. Parliament is a lapdog. There's no power. There's nothing. That's why when we were impeaching Rigiji, every senator was being given a bribe of 10 million shillings to vote yes on only one out of the 11. Yeah. And I must say, I did not take that money because I voted no on all the 11. I did not take that money. And even when the Rigiji came to me for support, I asked him whether he was trying to come and bribe. When he said they did not come with any money, I told him, now I'll maintain my position that I will not impeach you. So that money cannot be there if that money is locked away. So we must understand the importance of locking public money away. We must take money away from the president, then we shall engage the imperial presidency, and the president will begin being a civil servant, serving the people. So I think that's what I can remember. Is there anything I've forgotten? I think that's all I have. And so with that, I request you allow me to move because my case has just begun on the audience bed.
Please.
The judges are sitting, so I allow you to step out kindly.
That's okay.
Must continue. Another 2 minutes, please.
Okay, so thank you so much. There are so many questions and we may not be able to exhaust them, but I'll try and keep them to the 3 minutes. What are we doing? DKA, the money that DKA has is fundraised by children in Austria. So we really value every cent of that money. And it goes to the children in Kenya. In Kenya, we are supporting 16 organizations. So that alone can tell you that if children need to come together, one of the partners just has to put it in the budget. And safeguarding and child protection is our strength. So that is one thing that we are doing. We are also funding organizations that are doing advocacy, like the Jesuit Hakimani Center, assisted to LCMC. We fund advocacy, and there's one project that has been approved just recently, I don't think they have even started, that has to do with what happened to the Gen Zs. And they want to raise awareness. How can children and young people be meaningfully involved in the civil space without risking their lives? I'm interested to see how that goes, because they put a very strong case that they are able to do that, and we believe that they have the capacity. And I think that's going to be a milestone. So we are raising money to help organizations to be able to conduct forums like these ones and bring children together. But I would also say in your own spaces, because you come from churches, we have church leaders here. I think almost everyone here is a church leader in their own capacity, or a leader in another capacity in the church. Why don't you organize the forums where children can actually have their voices heard? When there was, in June last year, one of the things I challenged my parish minister, I was asking him that we have a congregation at PCA Kahawa Sukari of about 120 young people. Why are you complaining in the background instead of calling them and asking them, tell me what I can do? Just write it down. You go to NCCK will escalate it to the right government agency that can deal with that. So let us we have a lot of structures that can help us to have meaningful participation outside the government and even outside the civil space. We should exploit that. The issue of mental health, it's unfortunate we cannot handle this, and it's one of the things I would have wanted to talk about, but I think I want to tell you that healthy minds and healthy souls, especially for young people, are manufactured at home. When your children are suffering,
when your children are feeling inadequate and frustrated by all that is happening around them at whatever age. I'm not talking about agencies, I'm not talking about young adults, I'm talking about every child. The parents should be able to recognize that. Apparently, and I don't know whether you know this, again, the issue of information. Kenya has a whole policy on positive parenting, together with a training manual that nobody knows about. And it was launched like 3 years ago, a very comprehensive document that was developed using a lot of money. That can help. Grab it, go to your churches, your small Christian communities, your prayer cells, and introduce that. Because parents need to feel and be in touch with their children, because sometimes we are not. That's why children are committing suicide in our houses, and we get to know 2 days later, especially the young people. So I think we cannot exhaust this, maybe in another forum, but it is important that the family becomes the social support system when children are going through denial of children's rights and the rights of young people. There's a question here about birth registration. Everybody is entitled to birth registration. It is actually constitutional that everybody, you are entitled, and it is your right to belong to a nation. The right to a nationality is an international children's right, and the right for everybody. Now, sometimes you do not have these birth certificates because you were born at home, you don't have a birth notification, you're an orphan. But let me tell you, Kenya is so structured. The national government runs from the top, from State House, all the way to your village, where you have assistant chief. I think they are called the assistant county commissioners now. That guy can give you a letter to say, this person belongs to this village, they were born at home and I am aware, and I know their parents, please register their birth. But again, corruption is what makes us not access that letter from the assistant chief. And I think you need to report that if you get that gift. And I know I have worked in organizations that have children's homes. That was one of the struggles. And we had, that time we didn't know, people didn't know about your office. So we went to NCAJ when CJ Kome was the chair. And she said, this is nonsense. And she made it happen. That all the children who came to us from Kenyatta National Hospital, wherever, others we collected them from the ditches, everybody was able to get a certificate. But we don't have the CJ. Yeah, we don't have to have the CJ when we have the assistant chief and an office that can receive the complaints. So I think we cannot be able to exhaust this. But what you need to understand is that when you get a hitch, when you're trying to do something about children's rights, we have the ombudsman, we have some offices that can actually help. And if you want to remain safe, some of these things you do them through advocacy in a group. Appreciate the role of the civil society. If your child has been abused, and just give me a minute, because there is one here about a child who is defined and the perpetrator is on the loose, or they have been allowed to, the case is going on, but they're out and they're threatening the family. I think there is a witness protection unit that is attached to the DCI, and if you can raise that issue, you can actually be supported. There is one lady, let me just say here, because she's a public figure, and she's called Mweni. She heads the DCI Children's Department unit in South B. I'm sure you don't know it. You don't know it, but they deal with trafficking and also child protection issues. That is one lady who has done wonders in this world. And if you just tell her, this perpetrator is really compromising the case, bribing, threatening, and all that, she will do anything that she can. Her and her department. So the Child Protection and Anti-Trafficking Unit in South B is your salvation when the police are compromising your case, or when the perpetrator is compromising your case. And what happens is that they just revoke the bond and the case is heard when he's outside. But you have to make a statement. So don't shy away from the justice system, even when it seems like the wheels of justice are moving too slowly. You have to take that first step. So there are so many questions. Somebody has given the number, and I'll respond to this through your mobile phone.
Thank you. Next.
On the question of access to information, how do we reach the grassroots level? We have a program with Ombudsman Mashinani. And your question was, how do children access information if they can't, they don't have access to media and devices. And we are challenging you as Kenyans, invite us. Tell us you've organized a baraza or you've organized a group, and through the program, Ombudsman Mashinani will be able to come to you and educate you on your right to access information and also delivery of service within public sector. And we do not charge.
Nice.
The question that was asked is what is the impact of lecturer strike on students? And there are many. I think one of them is the motivation. We are already dealing with a population that is demotivated. And a lot of students, I can tell you, don't necessarily see degrees as a pathway to success because they say the system is rigged. So this adds to that. There are exposures to risks. For example, those who cannot go home have to hang around the halls of residence, and we know different vulnerabilities, including drinking, alcohol, drug abuse, because there are also in those spaces there are people who take advantage of that. I think also strikes perpetuates marginalization. So those, we have a lot of students who are struggling financially. So if, for example, you were given money to take you up to December when the semester was supposed to end, already 6 weeks in, and you've spent your money, so probably you don't know where the next money will come from. I think also in terms of the overall future of students, it is these experiences that really break them down in terms of hope. I think also in terms of what we see in the system. Mercy has talked about the mental health. We are continuously seeing now students who are struggling with mental health, including extreme cases where, for example, you see a student who is so stressed that they are attacking their colleagues. So all these, I think, are issues that, and especially the public education system doesn't necessarily have the tools to deal with. So I think all of us, even those who are affected, we hope some of these issues, especially the labor issues, will be resolved. Because why is it that public university workers are usually considered as public employees? They are employees of the government. But every time there is going to be a raise, it has to be a protracted labor dispute. My reading is that there are people, of course, who benefit from these strikes. Because why is it somebody in the ministry knows that I'm in this job group and with this qualification or these years of service, this is what I'm going to get. So I think there's also something that we are never taught, because whom do these labor disputes benefit? And your guess is as good as mine. Thank you.
Thank you, our panelists. I think we need to appreciate them. We can do the Moi way. We will do it 4 times. So the first time we do this, second time this, third time this, and the last time we do this. Let's go. 1. So as you take your seats, and to appreciate you once more, thank you for the information. I know I've harassed you because of time, but please forgive me. I would like just to say 1 or 2 things before I invite Dr. Mokua, who has been my mentor for a long time. I worked with him when I used to work at this Money Center. And I did this by just noting a quote by Martin Luther King, who said, "It is wrong to use moral means to establish an immoral end." And he finishes by saying, it's even more wrong to use moral means to qualify an immoral end. And so the question I ask when we conclude this conference is, what morality do we carry as we leave this place? Because that is a question that has been answered and repeated severally by different speakers in this forum. Someone talked about legislation. There's a problem in this country that we think all our problems must be legislated. including cohesion. We have a National Cohesion and Integration Act that for you to relate with your brother, you must have a law. A good law or a bad law depends with the person who implements. So laws, institutions are just instruments that people have, and they are as good as the people who make them. If you drive on Kenyan roads, what do you see when there's traffic?
Overlapping.
People overlap. And the one who's overlapped and you are driving nicely following the queue, what do they expect when they reach where you are?
You allow them.
You give them way, isn't it? When you don't give them way, they curse you. That is a bad culture around a good law. And therefore, good laws or policies are not going to help us unless we change our moral lenses. And we are saying we must begin at the family level. You know, and I like using this example that I'm happy someone spoke about it. Your kid cries, and then you say, oh mom, they're going to tell sweetie. What are you doing? You are commercializing tears. And they will cry many times in their life because it brings what? Money. That is how we begin corrupting things at home. And if there are institutions, we are saying whether it's a church, whether it is a commission, it has its levels of sanctity. And that sanctity depends with how independent you are and how accountable you are. Do you make us feel that you are a good institution? The senator has said, Treasury is run by the president. So even if Mbadi came here today and told you what he's doing, we know he's speaking on behalf of what? The president. But does that president give us the confidence we need to believe that they're doing right? That is a question that only us and people out there can answer. We spoke about collaboration. But when we speak about collaboration, I think there's a big advocacy here that children must speak. Children must have a voice. Children must be heard. And Mercy has told us the money that DKA funds this country is funded by who? By children. I worked for organizations that was dealing with children matters, and when I went to Finland, I found that all the money that organization was receiving was being raised by children. They have a week for work. And the money they work for is taken to a particular fund, and that money is brought here. And some of us who are directors actually end up eating that money that a kid has done with. So as we leave this room, remember that children need a voice. As families, we need to put a foundation. But even as we collaborate, we don't need to lose our independent mandate and agency to do what is right. Based on that, I would like to invite Dr. Mokua to speak to us. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Eric, and thank you, Kevin, for doing a great job of emceeing. Can we appreciate them? I know the energy levels have gone down, and the good news is that when we go out, we are not coming back. Yeah. So I'm sorry we have had to skip the breakout group work. That's normally where everyone has more chance, but considering yesterday we left a bit late, today we still are here to have lunch, so we have decided, rather using dictatorial tendencies, to kind of wind up, if you agree. Is that agreeable? Okay, so with your permission then, we begin the ritual of closing down. So may I ask all the organizers, KCCB, Mwiruri, please, if you can come here, and with your team, we're just going to together, anyone from KCCB, anyone from IRCK, Rolex is outside, but anyone from IRCK?
I'm here.
Okay, yes, please, absolutely. Then everyone from LCMC, if you can come and come to watch. You are not invited to sit, just to stand. We have a panel, we have already closed the matter. Everyone from LCMC, please come forward, and please, if you can stand. Yes, so on behalf of all these members, please come. These have been the organizers, the men and women behind the conference. And as you know, conferences begin long before they happen, isn't it? Yeah, so they have been working day and night to ensure that the conference is successful, and the Rolex, who is out there probably sitting off somewhere. So our choir master, we give you 1 minute just to conduct. You already know the song. Choir master, stand here. Yeah, we already know the song, so you just write the choir, that's all. Yeah.
Now, the only watu walikuwa wanakaa, wao ndo wana control. If they get the beat wrong, you won't get it correct. And there was a choir master helping me here.
This is public participation.
It was going like this. No, slower than that.
Yeah.
One. Yeah. So that this group was, and this goes, that. That's this goes,
Thank you, each one of you. Thanks for the work you've done. I will only allow Simon to, on behalf of everyone, to say just one word. The rest we may sit. Thank you.
I'll decide not even to go for 1 word, I'll decide to go to a half a word. Some of you, they know me, I'm a man of few words, but today I'm going to be a man of very few words. Brother, LCMC, Interreligious Council of Kenya, our guests, our able delegates from different organizations. Personally, I'm so overwhelmed. My sister here, Joy, I don't know where she is. I have told her yesterday, and today I've repeated 3 times. And you all agree with me, 2 days are not sufficient for this conference about the future of our children. So the next conference, brother, whether you like it or not, and this is dictatorial, we better look for some fewer coins. We are going to go for 3 days and make it residential. Is it possible? Yes. Is it possible? Yes. 3 days so that we can dialogue for the sake of our future. Mashuki and brother, we were doing a lot of things, but there was a lot that was remaining on your table. This gentleman, when you see him with the brother, I remember, and the people from the Archdiocese of Nairobi, they can confirm. I was on their neck when they were not filling in the survey. And you can see that small book has been condensed into a book. Low data has become a secondary data, if you understand what low data is. And that gentleman and this man and this entire team, they have burned their midnight oil and to come up with a published document. Is that a good job? Yes, it is. So let's appreciate them. In other words, because I know brother is not going to give a vote of thanks, our different panelists, yesterday, today, and for future, I know we are not going to gauge them, but they have delivered to our expectation as the people who are planning for this workshop. Let's appreciate them. We have you, our delegates. Yesterday, today is a working day. But you decided to leave everything to come and participate in this exercise. It is not something that we can take for granted. Or you think we can take for granted? Is there anybody who is paying for you to come here and sit down? Is there anybody who is paying for your fare to come here and listen? Is there anybody you can imagine? And I wish that vigor, that dedication, we can carry it to our respective institution, and we are going to leave this country better than the way we found it. Lastly, is to wish you an appetizing lunch, and may you consume it, and you consume it sumptuously. God bless you.
Simon, I didn't know you know a lot of English. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you all for coming. Thank you, Dr. Gadigi, for finding time to present the work on populism. Now, I don't need to repeat. I've just said thank you so much. There's one elder in this room. So unless there's anything, AOB, okay, there's no AOB, so I've given enough chance. There's no AOB. AOB, no AOB. Thank you so much. So the conference is adjourned, but there's an elder who knows how to do this. Bishop, I don't make mistakes like Kevin. I'm calling you sir. Bishop, you have two tasks. No, let's say three. First, you thank your age mates here because they survived somehow. And then you may pray for lunch. And then the first one, which you have been here, the first one is to officially close this meeting.
All right.
So if anyone is around, we'll blame you. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Good afternoon, everyone, again. The Bible says, better the end of a matter than the beginning. And I want to congratulate every one of us for keeping that stamina and having an open heart. You know, what we must not do, we must not stop learning. And sometimes you have to unlearn so that we can learn. And from the bottom of my heart, my very first certificate that I got from Daystar Institute was on children ministry. Those were many years ago, right at the roundabout, you know the place. And from there, things changed. I don't know how, but I find myself now with leaders. But the children are in my heart. I want to conclude by saying that we be the best of examples because our children are watching. Even as we live, and by the way, Brother Dr. Mukua made me feel very old. But he doesn't know that my other name is John T. And he also doesn't know that I'm also called Selector. So I went somewhere and I congratulated the Gen Zs, and one of them called me an ancestor. And I felt very old. But anyway, old is gold, isn't so? So each one of us in my bracket, I'm going towards 70. And do I say, my grandson is 19 years of age. And do I say, let's be upstanding, let's be upstanding. Let's be upstanding. Turn to your neighbor, tell him or her, thank you. All right. We'll have three, thank you. look up where Sir God, Sir God is where? And tell him thank you. Thank you, Lord. Now, put your hands on your chest like that and tell that person thank you. Can you do it with a swag? Thank you. Shall we pray? Shall we pray? Our Father and God, again we bow before your throne of grace and we pause in your presence. And in our pausing, Lord, we are reflecting on your goodness. Let Israel say, had it not been for the Lord on our side, then where would we be? We pause to appreciate what you have done, what you are doing, and what you are going to do. You have given us divine providence. You have given us life. You have also given us an appetite that we can enjoy that spoonful of food and that glass of water. We are thankful. We pray for those people who do not have anything to eat. We also pray, Lord, for those who are sick, and we ask that you visit with them and bless them. Lord, we receive what is going to be served with thanksgiving. And now may you dismiss us with your grace and manifold blessings. In the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Amen. Until we meet again, God bless you.